Hello, my name is Priscilla, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about experiences as idols. If you're not yet subscribed, please kindly hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Let's get right in. Let me take your mind back to a woman in the Bible. Her name is Naomi. Naomi lost her husband. She had to literally move with her mother-in-law, and she told her mother-in-law, "Your God is going to be my God," right? But before then, what did she say? She renamed herself to Mara. Mara means bitterness. A lot of us are used to identifying so much with our pain, with our experiences, that we begin to name ourselves after what we have experienced. There's this subtle idolization of your loss, your grief, your suffering, your experiences. They become glorified in your heart, they become magnified in your heart. A lot of us may not have done this outwardly, but at some time in your life, you may have just done it internally. The way the human mind tends to work is that you don't just experience pain, you gradually begin to identify with them. Another example that I want to take your mind back to is the story of the children of Israel. After God delivered them from captivity from Egypt, they got to the wilderness and things didn't look as rosy as probably they had thought. What did they say? In Exodus chapter 16 verse 3, they clearly said, our lives in Egypt were better off. We're better off in Egypt. There's a pattern here. Even after God liberated them from Egypt, their minds were still in bondage. And this is what some of us actually experience. We are free, but our minds are still in bondage. Our minds are still dominated by the experiences that we have had. There's a popular person in the Bible. His name is John the Baptist, as popularly known. He was a forerunner of Jesus Christ. Something happened when the ministry of Jesus began and a lot of people started following Jesus. There were rumors and murmurs and talks here and there how people were beginning to follow Jesus and his own ministry is becoming desolate and all of that. People are leaving him for Jesus. He told them something in John chapter 3 verse 30. He said he must increase that I may decrease. That is very, very profound. There's a lot of focus. The bigger prize here is Christ must be exalted. Christ must be magnified in your heart, even in high times, even in down times. He is Lord and King. He ought to be exalted beyond your personal experiences in your heart. That is our form of worship to him. That is our form of honor. That is our form of allegiance to him. If you have accepted someone as your Lord and personal Savior, that is what it means. So seasons will change, but he remains King. Seasons will change, but he remains my Lord. Nothing changes that, because I have reserved that place in my life, in my heart, for him to be King, to be Lord in my life. So he is King, he is Lord already, but in your heart, is he truly your Lord? Is it truly your King? Despite all of the seasonal changes that comes with living here on earth, I want to encourage you, do not make a god out of your situation. Do not make an idol out of your situation. And sometimes, just like David, you have to encourage yourself in the Lord. You can be a born-again Christian and practically you do not acknowledge him as your Lord. You've acknowledged him as your Savior, but you do not practically acknowledge him as your Lord. He is not exalted in your life. He is not exalted in your heart. There are actually practical ways to approach them. One of the ways you can approach them is by acknowledging it. There's no point in living in denial. This thing is happening. It is real. You have flesh and there's blood running through your veins. So yeah, you acknowledge it. You tell yourself the reality, no matter how bad it is. Psalm 34 verse 18 reminds us that God is aware of the broken-hearted people. He knows you. He knows what you are going through. So bring it to him, but don't build a life around it. Another practical way you can go about it is the need for you to replace your narrative. Your narrative about certain things you have experienced needs to be replaced. So there's no point in you repeating them severally, wearing it as a badge all the time. Yeah, these are your victories. Rather, what you should repeat to yourself is the overcoming of it. So when I think of the time I was probably not feeling fine, I'm not going to be looking at, oh my God, I was very sick. If you think of malaria, it is me you should think of. If you think of headache, it is me you think of. No, I look at it that, wow, God gave me victory over headache. I am whole. There's nothing missing, nothing lacking. I overcame by the blood of the Lamb. So that those things do not become saturated in my heart, in my head, in my mind, in my thoughts. Because the moment they become saturated in your mind and thoughts, they begin to form a pattern. They begin to generate fear. They begin to generate anxiety. They begin to generate this image of yourself. How you look at yourself is different. You look at yourself and you panic. You have panic attacks because you have dwelled, you have soaked yourself in the realities of those experiences. You will heal. There's healing for you. There's comfort for you. There's deliverance for you. Another practical way you can also handle this is Ask the right question. Why me? What is God trying to form in me from this situation? What can be formed? What values can be formed in me from this situation? What character can be improved on through this situation? What can come out of this? If God liberated me from this, I can be a vessel of reconciliation. I can help the people around me going through the same thing to liberate them out of this, to make sure that there's victory over this around me. So what is God trying to produce out of me from this situation? So this situation, I do not have control over it, but there's something that I can have control over. There are the values and character and fruits that can come out of me because of this situation. My patience is built, my understanding is built, my wisdom is built, my perseverance is built. James chapter 1 verse 2 to 4 tells us something, that growth can actually come out of such situations, that the trying of your faith, when your faith is tried, that it can truly produce growth. There can be spiritual growth. You can grow in the place of prayer, in the place of fasting, even in the things of the spirit. In healing, you can grow in a lot of ways. In the fruit of the spirit, the gift of the spirit, you can grow massively. In your spiritual discipline, you can grow even in your physical discipline. When you take advantage of knowing that this season, instead of me just walking empty-handed out of this situation of my life, I refuse to walk empty-handed out of this situation of my life. I'm going to walk out with this set of acquired experience, with this set of acquired skills, with this set of acquired values, with this set of acquired allegiance, and build tougher for Christ. Christ still remains king. He is still enthroned in my heart. There's nothing displacing him from the center of my heart. Not my pain, not my tribulation, not things created, not things not created, no man, no woman, nothing, no war. Nothing can tear me apart from the love of God. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. Romans chapter 8. The last one I'll be sharing is that you can truly move on intentionally. Just know that for you to intentionally move forward, your cooperation is needed. You are not a robot. God is not going to force you to move on. A therapist is not going to force you to move on. Your cooperation is needed. Your intention is needed. You are very important in the grand scheme of victory. You are very important in the grand scheme of moving forward, of overcoming. That is how important you are. So yes, your cooperation is needed. You can move on intentionally. If you lost someone, you are really grieving over the person, the pain in your heart is strong and all, you can intentionally heal, right? Yeah, the pain will still be there, but you will not be overcome by the pain. That's the entire point. You will not be overcome by those pain. You will not be overcome by those experiences, because you intentionally said no to being overcome by those things. Rather, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our testimony.